You might wonder why I'm wearing black today.
Why are you wearing black today?
Because I always wear black. No, I'm just kidding. Because it's close to Halloween.
It is close to Halloween.
And Halloween, as I understand it, is one of your favorite holidays?
No, not so much.
How come?
I do appreciate the trick-or-treating part. And
It's the candy, right?
the candy is great. But when I got too old to do the trick-or-treating part, it seems like it just became about scary movies, and I don't like scary movies.
Oh, sure.
And
Okay.
and I grew up in a really kind of traditional conservative church that kind of thought Halloween was just a bad thing all the way around. So yeah, once it got past the door to door and little cute costumes and candy, then it stopped being fun for me.
So there was nothing in it for you.
Nothing in it for me.
And you didn't enjoy the scary movies.
Right.
And your church was telling you, or had at least told you, that Halloween was not a good thing.
Yeah.
How funny that you should mention that.
Why is that so funny?
Well, only because we got a question on our Facebook page asking us to talk about Halloween.
Yes.
Pros, cons, ifs, shoulds, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I am imagining that the person who requested that we talk about this at least has heard that Halloween is a naughty thing for Christians to do,
Yes.
if not downright satanic or dangerous.
Right.
I'll tell you my basic place where I stand, and then we can try and figure out whether that's a good place to stand or not.
Okay.
Okay? So, in general, my view is your intention usually determines your outcome. Not always, but usually. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when that one pastor banned all the Harry Potter books in his school because if anybody actually read the incantations in the Harry Potter books, those things could happen. They were real magic. You remember that.
Mm-hmm, I do.
Even if I believed that were true, I have trouble believing, and I don't. I think J.K. Rowling was making up a story, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. I have trouble imagining that words without intention, or at least without awareness, are that powerful.
Right.
There are very few what we call performatives in the English language. Mm-hmm. There are very few things that, by saying them, affects them. So, for example, if I say, I forgive you, the forgiveness is done. My saying it does it.
Yeah.
Right? There are very few of those. Mm-hmm. Come forth, Satan is not actually one of them. So that I have trouble with it linguistically as well.
Right.
So, from my perspective, in general, about things, I feel, do I believe this? Yeah, I believe this. I believe that if you are Jewish and you enjoy Christmas, you are not then committed to believing that Jesus is the Messiah.
I believe that as well.
And other things like that.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're talking about a holiday that has truly become nothing about what it was about to begin with, whether you go back to Wiccan beginnings where it's basically the fall event, or you're talking about the idea that it precedes the Day of the Dead, and that this is when the spirits of the dead are able to be summoned up,
right? And
you're basically trying to appease or ward them.
Yeah.
Even if you go back to those, that's clearly not what's going on for most people's Halloween.
No.
So, in my understanding, Halloween as we now celebrate it, commemorate it, enjoy it, abstain from it, any of those things, has nothing to do with any of those things.
Right.
So the combination of the lack of performative power and the fact that what people do on Halloween has nothing to do with either of those things inclines me to think that it isn't that it's good or bad, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that?
I think you're right. I have an aversion to horror movies in general. I don't enjoy horror movies. There have been a few that I've enjoyed that were more like psychological in nature than like, just blood and gore fest or whatever.
Sure.
And so generally like around middle of August, you start seeing trailers for all the scary movies that are coming out in October. And I don't enjoy that because they invade your space. trailers.
Yes.
You can be watching something completely benign on TV, and then all of a sudden one of those trailers like
I hate
invades
that.
your space, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to know about it. I'm not going to pay money to see it. I don't want to see it promoted on my television. I just don't want to see it. And so part of it is all the messaging that I feel bombarded with during this season.
Sure.
I don't enjoy the messaging. I see absolutely nothing wrong with getting dressed up in costumes and going and having a party. I see nothing wrong with kids trick-or-treating. And if horror movies are your thing, I see nothing wrong with enjoying a horror movie on Halloween, as long as it's not the kind of movie that's going to, I don't want to sound puritanical, but plant seeds
Sure.
that could lead you somewhere that you really ought not go.
Right.
Any of us ought not go.
Right.
And there are movies that will do that. So, at the risk of sounding prudish, I just think that there's a lot around Halloween that can be influential to those who are easily influenced.
Would you say that the things around Halloween that are like that are non or anti-Christian or dangerous to the human psyche, or both?
Both. More so dangerous to the human psyche. There have certainly been movies and books that have sort of veered into subject matter that definitely could be construed, if not blatantly anti-Christian, or anti-God, or pro-hating God, or pro-whatever.
Sure.
I feel as though we are becoming more and more conditioned to, in this time of year, receiving these messages.
Oh, interesting.
And I just think that over time it has desensitized us to some of it. I don't think in and of itself Halloween is a bad thing, but I do think there are things that sort of orbit Halloween that can be kind of dangerous.
Okay. What I'm hearing you say, tell me if this sounds right. It isn't that Christians ought not enjoy Halloween. It's that Christians need to be wary of what they are enjoying around Halloween.
I would say that's true.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I would say that is true.
Okay. So I'm one of those people who, if I had ridiculous amounts of money, this house would be a Halloween fest for about a week, and then it would go down. Okay. It would not be scary Halloween fest, but just playful, right?
Sure.
Because the thing about Halloween as a secular event is it encourages a kind of imagination that the other holidays actually don't allow you to do. There are things that are Christmas, things that are not Christmas. Halloween, you can do a lot of silliness.
Sure.
Right? So there's something about Halloween that I find creatively interesting. If you are a follower of Jesus and you are not going into Halloween with the intent of, or putting yourself in situations where you would unintentionally do things like try to summon evil, or show a lack of love, or injure others, or any of those things, then to me, that answers the question, right? That following Jesus and playing with a secular holiday. I mean, very rarely during trick-or-treating or at any party does a satanic or spiritual character come to the door. It's usually Wonder Woman.
Sure.
Right? Wonder Woman, I think it's safe to say, is not a satanic image unless, like, you're John MacArthur. So, and if you don't know who John MacArthur is, feel free to look that up.
Yeah.
The whole notion of it has shifted. So I would say, in fact, I'll just say this flat out. I don't think that Halloween per se has anything to do with Jesus followers per se. I think what Jesus followers do with Halloween matters.
I agree.
And just like what we do with Christmas matters.
Absolutely.
What we do with 4th of July matters. What we do on birthdays matters. Not because they are either bad or good, but because they bring out our intentions and our desires and our fears and our pride and all those things in a heightened way.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
If I were to watch Psycho in June, it has a different weight than if I watch it October 31st.
Right.
Now, I don't think Psycho is a satanic movie.
I don't either.
The texture's different, right? I think it behooves anyone, but particularly Jesus followers, to pay attention to texture.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that you will lose your eternal soul if you put on a costume at age 35 and go beg your neighbor for candy. You may lose your neighbor as a friend, but your eternal soul will be intact.
I agree. I completely agree.
So I think we've settled that.
I think so.
In
I
our
think
view.
it's okay if you enjoy Halloween and you're a Christ follower to enjoy Halloween.
Right. With the caveat that following Jesus should impel you to love, generosity, kindness, joy, rather than focusing your attention on what is antithetical to those things.
Yep, agreed.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we could solve that for everybody.
I'm glad. Is everybody? If you need more about Halloween, please let us know. Although we probably won't get to it until Christmas, and then it's a whole different conversation. So.